the Democrats have stumbled upon their alleged illegal order, and they're thrilled. They're so excited. What they're saying is that on one of those Venezuelan drug boat strikes, we struck the boat, that there were 2 survivors, drug dealers, driving the boat or on the boat, who were then clinging to the remnants of the boat, and that on Pete Hegseth's order, they then dropped a second bomb to take out the 2 survivors, and then 2 more bombs to sink the boat, because I guess we want no remnants of the boat whatsoever. And Trump was asked about this on Air Force One, and Trump denied that Pete had done it. He actually said, Pete told me that he hasn't done it, that he did not agree to that. And now we've had 2 inquiries opened in Republican-controlled bodies of Congress, the House and the Senate. So the Republicans, or at least making a show of seeming interested in whether this happened, because many military experts have said they don't see how this could be legal. Like that you're not allowed, they say, and this is still under investigation about what happened, but if what I just said is true, and that's an if, that it would be clearly illegal because you're not allowed to kill people who survive an initial strike and who are, even if they're enemy combatants, kind of hanging on, or in this case, possibly literally hanging on for dear life. Your thoughts on it?
Well, I contain multitudes on this. First of all, I'm a big fan of stopping the invasion of drugs into the United States. And I think our children and our grandchildren are going to be so confused when they read in the history books that we had presidents who did nothing about it and just sat back and let people send drugs into the country that killed people and hurt productivity and just all the scourge of things that drugs do. So I'm a big fan of anything that addresses that, number one. Number two, I think President Trump has proven that if you use force aggressively and you use it in a way that minimizes or doesn't cause any loss of American life, that it can be a great deterrent. We saw that, at least potentially with Iran. We've seen it in other cases, and we're seeing it here. So people who say, well, they're not interdicting all the drugs, they're just getting a few boats. No, they're sending a message to people whose families and individuals are going to be more reluctant to go to the high seas with drugs destined for the United States or elsewhere. So I don't want to be misunderstood. I think those two things are good. But I'm also old-fashioned about two things, and I think they're really fundamental to what America's about. Number one, I don't think the President of the United States should kill people indiscriminately, or our forces should kill people indiscriminately in violation of law and American tradition. And that may be what's happened here in this particular case, but it's clearly the case in general. And I think there's been insufficient debate about it and insufficient scrutiny about it. And number two, super old-fashioned and kind of diluted. I think Congress is a co-equal branch, and in some cases a superior branch, when it comes to the declaration of war. And I think no American, whatever you call your politics, no American should be complacent about presidents. All the Cold War presidents have done this, using their power and disregarding Congress's role in declaring war. And I think that's what's happened here too. And I think that's, at a minimum, should be examined.
Well, that touches on an interesting dynamic that's popping up more and more in the press about whether there's some group of Republicans that are dejected and demoralized on Capitol Hill right now, Mark, because they feel like a rubber stamp to Trump. They feel like they can't challenge him or they're going to get primaried and chased out of Congress, MTG style. And so they do feel like they've ceded their constitutional authority because they're all so afraid of the 800-pound gorilla. Now, is that an actual thing right now, or is that just a leftist media fever dream?
No, it's an actual thing. It's not based on, talking to Democrats or talking to Don Bacon or Tom Massey. They're Trump loyalists who are unhappy. Now, some of them are unhappy because of principle. And you don't see, as we did over the weekend normally in the Trump era, you don't see the Republican chairs of the applicable committees in the House and Senate saying this needs to be investigated and saying it in a bipartisan way with the Democratic ranking members. And they're doing that because they are troubled by this on principle. Most of the unhappiness amongst Republicans, again, not a Democratic or media creation, is concern about the midterms, concern that they're going to lose the House majority because of the economy and a feeling that the White House is insufficiently moving to address what voters are concerned about, particularly how much things cost. So those are two different areas of unhappiness, one principle, one pure politics. And again, I think the political one is probably, if you could quantify unhappiness, probably a greater source right now amongst Republicans.
Right, because we were talking about this a little on the tour, that it's in a way it's so much more fun to be in the opposition, and just like lay criticisms on the people in power. But then when your team is in power and there's infighting and there's all sorts of articles every day about how terrible they are. I know it's from mostly the mainstream, which hates Trump and hates everybody in the Trump administration. But it's aggravating and it's irritating and it can be kind of a downer. And I feel like the Republican Party is going through that right now. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's sort of three main areas, right? One is about dealing with the economy, this word that the president doesn't much like, affordability. But these are tough problems. The cost of housing, the cost of food, the cost of energy. These are tough issues for any president to deal with. So that's one source of anxiety and infighting. Two is there's some cabinet members like Pete Hegseth, like Kash Patel, head of the FBI, and like Kristi Noem, who have now had to face multiple stories that are super negative about their stewardships that, again, are not from the deep state. They're not from Democrats. They're some cases published in the legacy media, but not always. So today, for instance, New York Post has a story about Kash Patel by Miranda Devine.
I saw it. We should talk about it. It's
devastating piece. And again, you got to consider the source. Miranda's a great reporter and writer and columnist. She's not writing a negative story based on the deep state sources. She's just not.
That's what concerns me. She's so good.
So that's number two is you've got some cabinet members. And then the president's poll numbers just aren't good. And again, that's not the liberal media. It's not fake polls. Every poll, including private Republican polls, show it's a snapshot of where we are. It doesn't mean they'll be bad next year. It doesn't mean he can't turn things around. But his poll numbers are really bad right now. And that just always causes tension.
The one that just hit is from Gallup, which is, the mother of all polls. Yeah. Forgive me, I'm having a cough drop. But that has approval rating down to 36, a new second term low. Keep going.
Yeah, and amongst independents, I think in that poll it's 25. And again, this is not liberal. It's not anti-Trump. If his numbers are that bad at the midterms, they'll lose the House. They might lose the Senate. So that just causes anxiety. And this White House has done a very good job of not just making Republicans in Congress afraid of them, although they're good at that, but making them feel they're being communicated with. And right now, they're claiming they don't feel that way. The White House takes issue with that and says they're communicating all the time, and it's just an excuse to rail against the White House. But this is not a great time right now for the president's political team. But there's an interval here to improve things. But at the moment, there are these sources of tension, and when you see somebody like Miranda Devine write a piece like that about Kash Patel, who's the ultra MAGA loyalist, it just makes everybody think, like a horror movie, like the villain or the enemy or whatever you want to describe it. They're in the house. They're not outside the house. They're in the house.
Ever read the label on a typical bag of chips? It's often a science experiment of seed oils, MSG, artificial dyes, and mystery ingredients. Masa is part of the growing movement to bring back real food. Masa chips contain just 3 ingredients: organic corn, sea salt, and 100% grass-fed beef tallow. Not only do these chips avoid the bad stuff, they also taste delicious, too. Snacking on Masa chips is nothing like eating regular chips. With Masa, you feel satisfied, light, and energetic with no crash and no bloat. And if you love Masa, then you will love Vandy Crisps. Vandy, which is Masa's sister company, makes the most delicious 3-ingredient potato chips, too. Ready to give Masa or Vandy a try? Use code MK for 25% off your first order at masachips.com or vandycrisps.com, or simply click the link in the video description or scan the QR code to claim this delicious offer. Don't feel like ordering online? Masa and Vandy are now available nationwide at your local Sprouts supermarket. Stop by and pick a couple of bags up before they're all gone. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.